So, tonight we're going to be talking about Imbolc, and where Baldur and I are going to be leading the Imbolc ritual that's going to be premiering on YouTube on Saturday. So we're just going to talk a little bit today about kind of the history and a little bit of the meaning of Imbolc. We're going to be talking about the goddess Brigid, and we're going to be talking a little bit more in depth about the ritual and some of the symbolism and meaning of what you will be seeing. First of all, what is Imbolc? Imbolc is one of the Celtic holidays. It marks the midpoint between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. So it's considered one of the cross-quarter days because the quarter days are like solar holidays centered around the sun, and cross quarters are centered around the earth and what's happening on the planet at that moment. Imbolc is traditionally celebrated February 1st through the 2nd. It's on 2 days because it usually starts at sundown or so on the 1st, and then it goes to the 2nd.
Sundown to sundown.
Yeah, sundown to sundown. It's a holiday originating, like I said, Ireland and Scotland, and it's one of the 8 holidays in the traditional Wheel of the Year. If you look on the Wheel of the Year, you have Yule, Imbolc, followed by Ostara. So it's like a spring holiday, even though it's very early in the year. It's considered to be kind of the beginning of spring because of these baby lambs, which are very cute.
Yeah.
At this time of year, the ewes are starting to give birth to sheep, baby lambs, and so the holiday takes its name from the new milk of the sheep and the lambs. So the sheep is very much a symbol of Imbolc, and they're cute. Some Wiccan and neo-pagan groups will celebrate Imbolc directly on the cross-quarter day of February 1st to 2nd. Others will kind of change it around a bit to when you do first see those first signs of spring, depending on where you are. I remember when I was in Minnesota, it never made any sense to do anything spring related on February 1st because there were absolutely no snowdrops blooming. It was more like 10 feet of snow on the ground and temperatures below 0, but I still tried to do it, where here in Florida, we kind of have, this is kind of a good time for it because you do have that, growing season, harvest.
Yep.
But again, it's totally the opposite of the Wheel of the Year because we're so close to the equator. But you could, in that sense, see it just because a lot of the winter crops are coming into harvest right around the beginning of February. Obviously, most of us aren't raising sheep, although interesting thing, friend of mine who raises goats out in Colorado, he just had his first newborn goat just a couple days ago. So there actually are some of that going on too. Imbolc was a strong influence on the Christian holiday of Candlemas, especially where it was being celebrated in Britain, Scotland, and Ireland. And obviously it was celebrated somewhat in Germany as well. And so there was one tradition in Germany which involved a badger, and that tradition made it all the way to the Pennsylvania Dutch, the Germans, and now we know it as Groundhog's Day, when poor Punxsutawney Phil gets dragged out of his burrow, held up in front of a whole bunch of cameras.
He sees the shadow. Winter continues for another 2 weeks.
I
And
thought it was
if
6 weeks.
6 weeks. If he doesn't see his shadow, then spring is on its way.
But yes, Baldur's right.
So one of the major goddesses of Celtic legend is Bridget, or Brid. Originally written as Brid, but it's Bridget as well. The reason why she is tied to Imbolc is because her main aspect is fire, and with basically Imbolc being the coming of the sun, the start of the spring, the dead cold of winter is actually starting to flow away. Warmth is coming to the lands, and it's a new sunrise, effectively. With Ireland, she was called the Flame of Ireland, or the Fiery Arrow. Some of her aspects is some of her control is also within the hearth, as in the fire of the hearth, the fire of the home, the first flame. She's a guardian of the hearth. Her being the guardian of fire, she is also a guardian of smiths as well. Without her fire, smiths would not be able to forge. There have been cases where great works of art in Ireland have been given over to Bridget as a thanks to her gift.
All right, so just going to talk a little bit now about the upcoming Imbolc ritual, just so kind of see. So we're going to be filming the Imbolc ritual at the UUCFL Fairy Garden, where you see over here on the right side, right picture on the screen. Pick that place because it's pretty, and we often we haven't really done rituals there very often, but it's actually a very nice ritual space. And there's also a planter there that we can use as a cauldron, not of water, not with fire, because it would explode. Chemistry. But we're gonna have a watery cauldron and a fire pity cauldron, which will definitely tie into a lot of the Imbolc symbolism. I'll be talking a little bit more about cauldrons here in a minute. But of course, while we're there, that'll give us a chance to work with some of our local native spirits, the goddess Venus, who came up with us from Hollywood, with our goddess there in Hollywood. There's a few fair folk and gnomes who hang out here, and it's also one of the favorite hangout spots of Claw's buddy, the Panther, who's one of the spirits that help guard and keep the ground safe. So we're going to be able to incorporate a lot of local and specific to the UUCFL's grounds within the ritual, as well as larger Imbolc symbolism.
Yeah.
So.
And another thing is, with it being so sheltered by trees, it actually kind of fits with Imbolc, with that tree being on its way back. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. And it reminds me too, it reminded me of a Druid's Grove.
Yes.
Because this is a very heavily Druidic influenced ritual. And so it does seem appropriate to do it in a grove full of trees, especially when you have Baldur and Birch, the tree, leading the ritual. It's going to start off with one of the tales of the raven, of how the raven got the sun. There are several versions of this story. We're going to be telling the one from the Haida. They're a tribe who live off the coast of British Columbia. And this one I chose because a lot of the shape-shifting that takes place in it reminded me of some of the Celtic tales of shape-shifting. So the energy of it just seemed to flow really nicely with the Celtic stories and the Celtic traditions that we're also incorporating. So it is going to be multicultural because, as Baldur will tell you, I really wanted to incorporate a raven into Imbolc. If I couldn't have a sheep, I was going to have a raven.
Yep.
Yep. So, cauldrons. There's a few cauldrons within Irish mythology that really stand out. They're sometimes called the cauldrons of poesy, I think, are associated with them. But there are 3 here which have their own stories, but also interestingly have parallels to Bridget's 3 kind of fiery aspects. So hold on one second. Let me grab my notes here. Okay. So one of the cauldrons was Bran's cauldron, and this one offers physical rebirth of the body. It's kind of the basics you need to live. And on this aspect, you could be talking about the literal hearth fire of the home, especially if you're in a cold climate. Your hearth fire is what's going to keep you alive on a cold winter night in, before modern heating elements were invented. You also could be talking about some of Bridget's aspects as a healer, or work with medicines, herbs. And so this very much contains sort of the body. That's one cauldron that we can be working with on the ritual. The next cauldron is Dagda's cauldron.
And I want to bring up something really quick here.
Mm-hmm.
It so happens that Brid is the daughter of Dagda.
Yes, she is. So Dagda's cauldron was a cauldron of plenty. And whenever anyone was served from that cauldron, they never went away unsatisfied. So within the concept of Bridget, you'll be talking here about, the smith's forge. It's something that kind of goes beyond bare survival now, up into something that leaves you satisfied, that creates, that leaves something behind. And so another cauldron that you can kind of look upon and work with is the concept of, okay, what am I doing right now? Where can I do that? What am I making? What am I building? What am I creating? What am I trying to work and live for? And the third cauldron is Caradwyn's cauldron. If you haven't yet listened to Damn the Bard's Taliesin song, it tells the story of Caradwyn's cauldron better than I ever could.
Caradwyn and Taliesin.
Yeah, that's what's called, Caradwyn and Taliesin. I knew you'd know that one. It's a great song. And this was the cauldron of wisdom. She created it for her son because he was so ugly that she wanted to make him very wise to make up for it. And so this was the cauldron of Alwyn, the sacred poetic inspiration and movement. And Alwyn is going to be playing very heavily into our ritual on Saturday, because we are going to be at one point in the ritual calling that poetic inspiration into ourselves to inspire us to make new and bright beginnings in the year 2021. So, and then that ties in with Bridget, because she is very often considered a goddess of that poetic inspiration. She has been cited as a poetic muse by Irish poets since in written poetry, since I believe around the 6th century, but they were already harking back to a tradition that existed with the spoken Druidic traditions which came before them. So Bridget's links to poetic inspiration and wisdom, and specifically poetic madness, go back well into pre-Christian Ireland. So those three cauldrons are kind of some of the cauldrons that you'll want to be thinking about and incorporating into whatever you're going to be working on when we do the ritual. During the ritual, the camera is going to be pointed at the fire, so you'll see the flames dancing. There'll also be the water in the cauldron right there, so you kind of get the two near each other, but not so close that they explode. I promise I will not explode anything. Fingers crossed.
Trust me and Carl will not let that happen.
Yeah, I'm trusting you guys not to let that happen. Even though I really wanted it, chemistry forbids it. But it's going to be pretty neat. So you can kind of think about what, obviously what specifically do you need as an individual? I mean, are you at the point in your life where you just need to relight the hearth fire inside of you to kind of keep going and find something? Because some of us are in that place right now. 2020 was an extremely rough year for a lot of us. So maybe you're just looking to rekindle the hearth fire inside of you. Maybe you're looking to, build upon your livelihood and what you're doing. So you're going to want to focus on that Smith's Forge aspect, where you are, building and making your life and trying to walk away satisfied from what you do each day. Or are you, looking for that poetic inspiration, that extra zest of creativity to, take you to new heights in 2021. We're going to be calling upon Alwyn, which is that creative force. But the beautiful thing about it is it can come to any of these three with your intentions. So that's the cauldron. In the ritual, if you want any kind of rattles, drums, music, shakers, you can have those with you at home. We'll also be having some noise and some chanting going on in the ritual itself that you are welcome to chant along to when we get to that point. So, Awen, inspiration or madness? We'll be having a ritual to call upon either of both of those states.
Remember how we were talking about the heavy druid influence?
Mm-hmm.
This symbol is basically the symbol of druids. This it is the Awen. The 3 points of light represents the triple aspect of deity. And at another level, points at which the sun rises on the equinoxes and solstices.
And is the symbol of the order of bards, oviates, and druids. It's an extremely old symbol. And very pretty to look at.
Yeah. I just wanted to explain a little bit of the symbol.
Yes, no, thank you for that. Okay, so that's pretty much what we have to present on tonight.